Right now, the average American household is spending over $1,800 a year on heating. This year, next year, every year. And there is a panel built from materials that cost $35 that attaches to any south-facing wall, requires no electricity, no fuel, no moving parts, and has been documented by the U.S. Department of Energy to reduce heating bills by up to 50%. It was on hardware store shelves across this country in the early 1980s. By the early 1990s, it had vanished from every one of them. Not because it stopped working, because no one profits when you build one. This is not a theory. This is a technology that was patented in 1881, tested by the US government for over a decade, documented in studies you can still download from a government website today, and then quietly abandoned when the financial incentive to promote it disappeared. The oil market crashed, the research funding evaporated, the building codes made it a bureaucratic nightmare to install, and an industry worth $150 billion a year had absolutely no reason to bring it back. In this video, we're going to show you exactly what this panel is, what killed it, and how you can build one this weekend for the price of a dinner out. It starts with Socrates, 2,400 years ago, standing in a house that never needed a furnace. Around 400 BC, Socrates described to his students the ideal house. He did not talk about marble columns or grand doorways. He talked about physics. The sun, he explained, rides low in the winter sky and high in the summer sky. Build a house with a covered porch facing south, and the winter sun shines straight in and heats your rooms. The summer sun rides so high overhead that the porch blocks it, keeping the house cool. Simple, free, permanent. Xenophon recorded this conversation in a document called the Memorabilia, written around 370 BC. You can read it today. This was not a metaphor. It was a building specification. Solar engineers still use the same sun angle calculations. The physics has not changed in 2,400 years. The Romans took it further. Wealthy Roman homes included a room called the Heliocaminus, the sun furnace, a south-facing room with glass or translucent stone windows that trapped heat like a greenhouse. Roman bathhouses used the same principle across the empire. And by the 2nd century AD, Roman law protected a citizen's right to their sunlight. Block your neighbor's solar access, and you were breaking the law. The Romans had solar rights legislation 1,400 years before the first oil well was drilled. Then came coal, then kerosene, then natural gas pipelines. 2,000 years of solar knowledge was replaced by a monthly bill. But in 1881, a man in Salem, Massachusetts, decided to remember. Edward Morse filed U.S. patent 246,626, a device for warming and ventilating apartments using the sun's rays, a dark painted chamber mounted on a south-facing wall, sealed with glass, with vents at top and bottom. Cool room air entered at the base, heated against the black metal, and returned warm to the room above. No electricity, no fuel, no moving parts, a machine that ran on sunlight. He filed this patent 143 years ago. Nobody bought it. Oil was cheap. Coal was cheaper. Then 1973 arrived. Oil prices quadrupled overnight. Gasoline lines stretched around city blocks. The United States government remembered Edward Morse, remembered Socrates, remembered the Romans. The Solar Energy Research Institute was founded in Golden, Colorado in 1974, funded by the Department of Energy. For the next decade, engineers documented passive solar homes across every U.S. climate zone, Alaska to Arizona, Minnesota to Mississippi. The technology worked everywhere the sun shines. So why, in 2024, are we still paying $1,800 a year to heat a house that Socrates solved for free? Here is what the panel does. I am going to explain it the way you would explain it to a child. Imagine a box. The back of the box is painted flat black. The front is covered with a sheet of clear polycarbonate. The the same material used in greenhouse roofing. You mount this box on a south-facing wall and cut two small holes through that wall, one near the floor and one near the ceiling. That is the entire mechanism. Sunlight hits the black metal inside the box. The metal absorbs it. The air heats up. Hot air rises and pushes through the top hole into your room. Cool room air gets pulled in through the bottom hole to replace it. The cycle runs continuously as long as the sun is shining. No fuel, no electricity, no moving parts, just physics. The Department of Energy documented the performance of systems like this across dozens of test sites in the 1970s and the 1980s. On a clear winter day, with an outdoor temperature of 30 degrees Fahrenheit, a well-built 8-square-foot panel delivers air into your home at 80 to 100 degrees, a 50 to 70 degree rise in temperature. From sunlight? From nothing. One of the most rigorously documented passive solar homes in American history is the Balcom House in Santa Fe, New Mexico, built in 1977 and studied extensively by Los Alamos National Laboratory. No conventional furnace. South-facing glass. Thermal mass walls. Documented at approximately 90% lower heating costs than a conventionally built home in the same climate. Not 10%, not 20%, 90%. Now run the simple numbers. Average U.S. household heating costs are over $1,800 a year. Documented passive solar reduction in sunny climates is 40 to 60%. Annual savings, $720 to $1,080. Panel cost, $35. Payback period, less than 3 weeks. Big savings. And here's the number that should stop you. A gas furnace has an average lifespan of 15 to 20 years and costs $2,500 to $7,000 to replace. A solar air heater has no moving parts. No moving parts means nothing to wear out. Documented installations from the 1970s are still operational today, more than 50 years later, with no repairs. One panel. $35 in materials. Free heat on every sunny day for the next half-century. The performance data is not in dispute. It is in government documents on nrel.gov right now. So the question is not whether this works. The question is why it is not in every home in America. In 1974, the federal government created the Solar Energy Research Institute and put engineers to work on one question: how do you heat American homes without burning fossil fuels? For the next decade, they published study after study. Passive solar works. It is cost-effective. It can be incorporated into existing homes. These reports are still on the government's website today. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, small manufacturers had taken this research into hardware stores. Simple solar air heating panels sold in home improvement catalogs for $30 to $80. Thousands of homeowners bought them. The savings were real and documented. Then, in 1986, the price of oil collapsed. Saudi Arabia flooded the global market. West Texas Intermediate crude fell from roughly $26 a barrel to under $10 a barrel, a drop of more than 60% in a single year. The financial argument for energy efficiency products evaporated overnight. The manufacturers lost their market. Within 5 years, those products had disappeared from mainstream retail. By the early 1990s, you could not find a solar air heating panel in an American hardware store. At the same time, the Reagan administration had been cutting the Department of Energy's renewable energy research budget, reductions of 60% or more from the Carter-era peak. The Solar Energy Research Institute saw its resources slashed. The National Center for Appropriate Technology in Butte, Montana, which had been training ordinary Americans to build these systems themselves, lost virtually all of its federal funding by the early 1980s. The people being paid to teach you this were sent home. But here is what sealed it. Even today, if you wanted to build one of these panels, the regulatory system works against you. The International Residential Code classifies wall-mounted solar attachments as structural additions to the building envelope. That means permits, inspections. In some jurisdictions, a professional engineer's signature for a box made of wood and glass, and the mortgage system will not recognize what you built. Standard appraisal guidelines have historically excluded passive solar features from home valuations. You install a system that saves $900 a year. The bank tells you it added nothing to your home's value. You cannot finance it. You cannot recoup it when you sell. No one banned the solar air heater. The system just was not built for it. A $150 billion a year industry had no reason to change that. There is no supply chain behind a $35 panel built in your garage. No manufacturer collecting a margin. No contractor earning a day rate. No utility selling fuel. No service technician on a maintenance contract. The HVAC industry makes exactly $0 when you heat your home with a box, some aluminum, and sunlight. That is not a conspiracy. That is an incentive structure. And you are paying for it every single month. For those willing to look past what the industry sells you, the knowledge never went away. If you are building a new home or planning a major renovation, the full passive solar design playbook is free from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory at nrel.gov. Their guides cover south-facing glass placement, thermal mass walls, and roof overhang dimensions sized precisely to block high summer sun and admit low winter sun. Homes built to these specifications in sunny United States climates, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and the Carolinas, have documented heating bill reductions of 30 to 60%. Real homes, real families. Documented results. But most of us are not building new homes. The solar air heating panel exists precisely for that situation. Here is exactly what you need. A wooden frame made from 2x4s or salvaged lumber. A sheet of aluminum flashing from the plumbing section of any hardware store, cut to size and painted flat black with high-temperature spray paint. A sheet of twin-wall polycarbonate for the glazing. Greenhouse roofing material, under $15 per sheet at any home improvement store. 2 lengths of 4-inch PVC pipe for the inlet and outlet vents. Total material cost, $35 to $50. Affordable and simple. Cut 2 holes through the exterior wall of a south-facing room, one near the floor and one near the ceiling. Insert the PVC pipes. Mount the panel. Seal every edge with weatherproof tape. No electrician, no HVAC contractor. No permits are required in most jurisdictions for a structure this small. Check your local code before you start, because it varies. What will one panel do? On a clear winter day, it will raise a medium room's temperature by 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit without burning a single BTU of gas or running a single watt of resistance heat. It will not replace your furnace, but it will reduce the hours your furnace runs. And it will do that for free, every sunny day, for the next 40 years. Build a second one. Build a third. There is no engineering reason you cannot cover an entire south-facing wall. Entire walls can add up to big savings over time. If you want to go deeper, the Solar Living Institute in Hopland, California, runs hands-on passive solar construction workshops. The website, builditsolar.com, documents hundreds of real, do-it-yourself builds with verified performance data from homeowners in every U.S. climate zone. The knowledge is there. It was always there. It just was not in the magazine next to the full-page furnace advertisements. The solar air heater is a 2,400-year-old technology. It is built from materials that cost less than a tank of gas. It was proven by the U.S. government. It was abandoned the moment it stopped being profitable for someone else. It is ready to be built this weekend. Here is what we know. This works. It has worked for 2,400 years. It was patented 143 years ago. The U.S. government spent a decade confirming exactly how well it works. Then the oil price crashed, the funding disappeared, and the products left the shelves. Not because they failed, because no one profits when you build one. There is no supply chain behind a panel made from wood and aluminum. No manufacturer, no service agreement, no monthly fuel bill. That is not a design flaw. That is the reason it disappeared. You do not have to pay $1,800 a year to heat a house that Socrates solved for free. The sun is not sending you an invoice. Stop paying someone else to stand between you and it. The people who understand this are not waiting for it to appear in a home improvement magazine. They already built it. You can be building yours this weekend. If this is the kind of thing that matters to you, the solutions that work but never seem to make the front page because no one can make money selling you the information, subscribe and share this. It is the simplest way to make sure it keeps being found. Next, a cooling system used in Arizona and New Mexico homes in the 1930s that maintained interior temperatures of 70 degrees through August, using nothing but burlap sacking and water, before the air conditioning industry made it nearly impossible to build legally. We will see you there.